Hello everyone, with the Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the Caribbean. It is Friday evening, February 10th, 2023. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video, share it, subscribe and tap the notification bell so that you'll be notified every time I post a brand new video. Also feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section letting me know what the weather has been like in your area recently. Also feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. I respond to all comments and I really live for this stuff. Alright, so let us take a look at the significant feature map across the Atlantic for this evening. We can see that we have a high pressure ridge right there to the north of the Caribbean and the main development region. That's been responsible for sending a lot of strong easterly winds across the main development region into the Caribbean. We can also see a cold front right there across portions of the southern and eastern United States. And if we actually take a look at the visible satellite images before the sun went down, we can see all of those low level patches of clouds with some rainfall embedded in them moving along from east to west across the main development region, across portions of the Leeward and Windward Islands, into the central and western Caribbean. We can also see the clouds associated with that cold front bringing some amount of overcast skies and showers to sections of the southern and eastern United States. We'll be talking more about the region later on. Let's focus our attention on the prediction that was made yesterday for Jamaica's weather. It was stated that we would have received some amount of rainfall across sections of northern Jamaica, maybe even eastern Jamaica, in the morning hours, and then spilling into portions of central and western Jamaica during the afternoon. What ended up happening? A post was made at 4:15 a.m. this morning highlighting some amount of clouds bringing some isolated showers to sections of northern Jamaica, so section of Portland, St. Anne, St. Mary got in on some of that rainfall. Even when the sun was up, we got some morning rainfall across those very spots, even into portions of St. Thomas as well. Even at 4:06 p.m. another post was made highlighting some clouds bringing some amount of isolated thunder showers to sections of western St. Elizabeth as well as portions of Westmoreland, portions of Hanover, as well as inland areas of some southern parishes, so St. Elizabeth, northern Manchester, northern Clarendon, northern St. Catherine, even portions of northern St. Andrew got in on some amount of overcast skies and or isolated showers. And to prove the afternoon thunder showers across portions of St. Elizabeth and Westmoreland, we look to the infrared satellite images, and the infrared satellite images show the high cold cloud tops with all of those blues and greens, as well as some sparkling white dots which signify some amount of lightning flashes across those areas as well. So they got in on some afternoon thunder showers across portions of St. Elizabeth and Westmoreland as well. And if we actually take a look at the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology website, this map is showing all the rainfall that we got for the past 24 hours. So just as stated, across portions of northern, eastern Jamaica, portions of inland areas of some central parishes, as well as western Jamaica, that's where all the rainfall was today. So portions of Hanover, Westmoreland, inland areas of St. Elizabeth, Manchester, Clarendon, portions of St. Thomas, Portland, St. Mary and St. Anne got in on some amount of rainfall today. Alright, so let's talk temperatures. We can see that we have 26 degrees Celsius right now in Kingston, 24 degrees Celsius right now in Montego Bay, and as the night progresses, these temperatures should be getting lower. Let's talk about the temperatures for tomorrow. We can still see that for the most part Jamaica is still embedded in some yellows right there, and if you actually take a look at the key shows that the yellow represents at least 1 degree Celsius above average temperature. So if you actually take a look at the month of February, on average the high temperatures is about 86 degrees Fahrenheit for Jamaica, and if you actually take a look at the thermometer, the equivalent of 86 degrees Fahrenheit is about 30 degrees Celsius. And if we're gonna be getting 1 degree Celsius above average tomorrow, so we're gonna be getting anywhere from 30 to 31 degrees Celsius. If we actually take a look at the dry air map right now, we can see that we have a lot of reds and oranges across the majority of the Caribbean, including Jamaica. Lots of dry air. It's the dry season, so this is expected. If you want to see a lot of moist air, We would see more yellows or more blues as indicated by the key at the bottom. If you actually take a look at the Saharan dust forecast for tomorrow, 2 p.m. on Saturday shows that Jamaica is still in the clear, no Saharan dust present. Majority of the Saharan dust is still right there by Africa and the main development region. We won't be seeing much of that for now, maybe until June, July. Alright, so let us take a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow. We can see some amount of purples right there to the south and the east of Jamaica that represent some 2-meter wave heights, and we can see agreement on the GFS models. We know that when we have consensus on both the Euro and the GFS models, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Both maps are showing 12 p.m. on Saturday. So what's the reason for all of those high wave heights? It's because of the strong easterly wind. We're expecting anything from, let's say, 10 to 25 knot winds coming in from the east tomorrow. But where does all of this air pile up? Where do we have the least amount of winds across the island? The blues represent the least amount of winds according to the key, and usually wherever on the island we have the least amount of winds, that's where all of the air piles up. That's where we have a buildup of clouds that forms some amount of afternoon thunderstorms. And what happens when all of those clouds get up into the upper levels of the atmosphere? They are sheared off by wind shear. And the wind shear for tomorrow, according to the Euro and the GFS, is coming in from the west. So any form of buildup of clouds across the island more than likely will favor inland areas of central and western Jamaica. So it makes sense that when we look at the precipitation forecast for tomorrow, not much rainfall in the morning. It's in the afternoon that we actually see some blues that represent the rainfall across portions of central and western Jamaica. Some blues right there. So anywhere from, let's say, inland areas of St. Catherine, Clarendon, Manchester, St. Elizabeth, portions of Westmoreland, inland areas of Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, inland areas of St. Anne might get on some amount of rainfall for tomorrow. What's the time? 3 p.m. on Saturday. So if you have plans tomorrow, try to get those plans done before those times if you're in the inland areas of those parishes. And as such, both the Euro and the GFS accumulated precipitation are showing some amount of accumulated rainfall for tomorrow. Both maps are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. on Saturday. It actually says 3Z on Sunday, but when we calculate that, that's 10 p.m. on Saturday. So we know that Jamaica is in for some amount of rainfall tomorrow. Not everywhere, but some spots, the very areas that we just mentioned just now. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let's talk about the rest of the Caribbean. So as stated, we have that cold front across portions of the southern United States, bringing some amount of overcast skies and showers to the waters across the Gulf of Mexico, portions of Florida, Georgia, South and North Carolina, getting in on some of that. We can also see a lot of clouds coming in from the east, lots of low-level clouds coming in from the east, bring some amount of overcast skies and showers to the islands of the eastern Caribbean. So sections of Barbados, St. Vincent, Grenada, Martinique, Dominica, Guadeloupe, Montserrat, maybe Antigua and Barbuda getting in on some of that passing shower as well. Lots of clouds passing to the south of Hispaniola and Jamaica today. You can see some of those clouds piling into sections of Honduras right there, as well as portions of northeastern Nicaragua. You can also see some rainfall across portions of Guatemala as well. Some clouds bringing some amount of rainfall to portions of Guatemala as well. If you actually take a look at the Doppler radar images, we know that Doppler radar images show the actual rainfall across an area as represented by the greens, light to moderate rainfall, and the yellows and the reds represent heavy rainfall. So we can see that right now, well, since 2 p.m. today, we've been having some amount of rainfall across portions of Martinique, Dominica, Guadeloupe, portions of the British and the US Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, maybe a passing shower or two across portions of St. Martin, Anguilla, Barbuda, Antigua right there. And if we actually take a look at the Barbados radar, we can still see a lot of rainfall surrounding the island. Portions of Barbados getting in on some amount of rainfall, even up to recording hour, and still more to come in from the east northeast. Even areas to the west and north of there, as well as the south of there. So portions of Trinidad, Tobago getting in on some rainfall this evening. Section of Grenada, St. Vincent, sections of St. Lucia, Martinique, Dominica, and Guadeloupe getting in on some amount of rainfall for this evening as well. Taking a look at the wider view of Doppler radar images, we can see that we have some amount of rainfall across portions of Guyana, portions of French Guiana, Colombia, affecting portions of the ABC Islands as well at this time. If you actually take a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow across the Caribbean, considering that there's a cold front bringing some amount of clouds and rainfall to portions of the eastern US, usually right behind the cold front is a lot of dry cold air, and we can see a lot of blues and greens, even purples coming in there, associated with some drastic below normal temperatures across portions of Texas, portions of Mexico as well. So that cold front is going to do a number on those specific spots, with some below average temperatures, some slightly below average temperatures across portions of the eastern Caribbean, but it is portions of Central America, including Nicaragua, Panama, Costa Rica, Honduras, anywhere from there moving northward, so the Cayman Islands, Jamaica, portions of Haiti, Turks and Caicos, the Bahamas, portions of Florida, getting in on some more above normal temperatures. And this map is showing 1 p.m. on Saturday on both the Euro and the GFS, where we have consensus on both maps with those temperatures. And we know that when we have consensus like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Moving on to the Saharan dust map right now, we can see that for a majority of the Caribbean, we're in the clear, no Sahara dust to worry about. All of the Sahara dust is across portions of Africa as well as portions of the main development region right there. If you actually take a look at the wave forecast, we can see 2 to 3 meter wave heights expected across those very spots where we're expecting that cold front to be across portions of Mexico, portions of the Gulf of Mexico right there, to the south of Jamaica, to the east of the Caribbean, as well as to the north of the Caribbean. And we can see that on both the Euro and the GFS. I know that when we have consensus like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. But why do we have all of those high wave heights, 2 to 3 meter wave heights? Because of the winds. We can see that across the Caribbean, where we have those high wave heights, we're getting some strong easterly winds, anywhere from 20 to 30 knots, especially in those yellows and oranges. That's where the strongest winds are. So areas to the north of Colombia, portions of the ABC Islands, sections of the eastern Caribbean, including those very islands that are getting some amount of rainfall at this time. So Trinidad and Tobago, Grenada, St. Vincent, Barbados, St. Lucia, Martinique, Dominica, Guadeloupe, portions of Antigua and Barbuda, St. Martin, Anguilla, the US and British Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic as well. We can see a lot of strong winds right there across portions of Mexico associated with that cold front. And we can see consensus on the GFS model as well. And we know that when we have consensus like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Let's talk the precipitation forecast for tomorrow. Both maps, the Euro and the GFS, are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 3 on Sunday. When we calculate that, that's actually 10 p.m. on Saturday. All the rainfall that's expected from now up until then. So we can see that we have a long trail of rainfall to the north of the Caribbean right there, stretching into portion of the northeastern section of the Dominican Republic. We can see some amount of rainfall, but it's mostly less than an inch of rainfall, affecting those very areas that we saw the rainfall in the Doppler radar images. So Guadeloupe, anywhere from Guadeloupe southward. So Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, Barbados, sections of St. Vincent and Grenada, eastern Trinidad, portion of northern Venezuela. We can see the heaviest of the rainfall, up to 1 inch in the red, as we can see on the map, are across portions of Colombia, portions of Costa Rica and Panama, portions of, let's say, Honduras right there. Maybe Nicaragua getting less than an inch of rainfall for tomorrow, but still a lot of rainfall is expected. And we actually see some amount of consensus on the Euro and the GFS. And we know that when we have consensus like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Moving along to the western portion of the basin, considering the fact that there's a cold front that's going to affect this very spot portion of Mexico, will be getting in on a lot of rainfall. We can see some purples in there as well, even up to at least 5 to 6 inches of rainfall expected from now up until then, all due to this cold front. And some of this rainfall will be spilling into Belize as well right there. Even Guatemala getting in on some amount of rainfall that might trigger some amount of isolated flash flooding. We can see a lot of the rainfalls across the waters of the Gulf of Mexico, maybe even affecting portion of the southern United States as well. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.